They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis. But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still at...
Sunny Hostin just experienced an emotional blackout so intense, it made a cave without Wi-Fi look like a hotspot. One moment she was composed, the next, poof, her pride was pulverized in real time. Enter Kirk and Joe Rogan, an unexpected tag team who dismantled her confidence with surgical precision. Think verbal WWE, but with facts instead of folding chairs. The meltdown? Epic. So dramatic, it made soap operas seem like documentaries. But what exactly did they say that sent Sunny spiraling into a daze of disbelief and regret? Brace yourself. This verbal takedown was so savage, even her teleprompter looked like it needed a support group. Things got that wild.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever.
Sunny Hostin was gliding through another week of on-air applause and polished sound bites until the universe decided it was time for a reality check. Enter the cosmic tag team. Kirk, the blazer-clad Gen Z decoder armed with graphs, grit, and the jittery energy of a student on their fifth espresso. From the cultural flank came Joe Rogan, podcast emperor and casual philosopher, dismantling her media persona between tangents about elk meat, DMT, and government secrets. Together, they delivered a one-two punch so precise it rattled her narrative, and left viewers wondering if she'd ever see it coming.
Culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side, and if it's our side that's saying this, for sure it's the right thing to do, and no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge.
She never saw it coming, probably because she was too busy basking in applause from an audience that treats echo chambers like volunteer work. Mid-monologue, while riding high on self-assured sound bites, the first strike landed. Kirk, fresh off a college tour where protest signs outnumbered pamphlets, and someone brought a blue-haired emotional support dog, lobbed a data-packed truth grenade from miles away. He didn't even need to be in the room. With one well-aimed intellectual hit, the stage shook, and the narrative started to unravel in real time.
The point I'll say is this, is Sunny, you guys thought that abortion was going to be this like quasi-zealot religious issue. I'm pro-life. If people in the audience aren't, that's fine. What I'm saying though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other six.
Kirk, never known for pulling punches, especially when armed with facts and a dose of unapologetic logic, tore straight through the media's carefully polished facade. With the subtlety of a wrecking ball and the precision of someone who's read more than just headlines, he exposed the glaring gap between elite narratives and everyday reality. And who better to represent that gilded tower of out-of-touch commentary than Sunny Hostin, media royalty and self-anointed high, priestess of performative progressivism, delivering sermons no one asked for from a pulpit built on applause.
Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a rabies infested.
Charlie didn't even have to say her name. He simply started unpacking the overstuffed designer luggage of hot takes that routinely fly first class on The View. The usual sound bites made their predictable appearance. Voter suppression is everywhere. Conservatives hate minorities. And of course, the all-time favorite, Republicans just want to drag us back to 1952. But instead of clapping along, Charlie did what few dare to do in the world of feel-good studio applause. He brought receipts, real numbers, tangible data. The kind of hard truth that ricochets off scripted monologues like Nerf darts hitting a steel door. He laid out the facts. Minority voters are shifting right, not because they're confused, but because they're tired of being condescended to by multimillionaire hosts who claim to understand the struggle while never setting foot in a Walmart. Charlie didn't stop at stats. He exposed the bizarre irony of wealthy TV personalities preaching oppression from penthouse balconies, sipping $9 almond milk lattes while lamenting the rigged system. Rigged? The only thing rigged is the applause sign flashing on cue like a Vegas slot machine. Then came the elitism bomb. Sunny, reclined on the velvet throne of media privilege, unintentionally became the perfect symbol of pundits who confuse having a producer in their earpiece with possessing prophetic insight. As Charlie put it, these hosts aren't offering clarity. They're offering commentary wrapped in couture. It's like taking budgeting advice from someone who genuinely believes Whole Foods is where you go to save money.
Of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you. Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sonny?
Yeah, and again, by the way, rarely do you get the answer to a question in the question. And her whole question is exactly why there was a rebellion against them.
Yes.
Listen, just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. I always differentiate between knowledge and wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. I mean, or about North African lesbian poetry. Okay, that's fine.
Charlie Kirk's takedown wasn't loud or flashy. It was surgical. Cool, calculated, and precise, it landed not on Sunny's character, her outfit, or even her intellect, but squarely on her credibility. That carefully polished illusion that Sunny's brand of politics reflects real-world experience cracked under the weight of inconvenient facts. It wasn't just a jab, it was a knockout. If this were a boxing match, the ref wouldn't have hesitated to throw in the towel. Then came Joe Rogan, America's cultural barroom bouncer, stepping into the arena like it was the octagon, not a press panel. No blazer, no bullet point slides. Just that signature blend of rugged insight and unfiltered logic. Shirt? Optional. Weapon of choice? Raw, uncut common sense. Something so rare in elite media circles it might as well be contraband. Rogan didn't need charts to make his point. He brought calm sarcasm, a raised eyebrow, and the kind of relatable truth that hits harder than any headline. While Charlie dismantled the ideology, Joe went after the stage it was performed on, those glossy talk shows that wear the mask of journalism, while functioning more like therapy sessions for people allergic to self-reflection. He didn't just poke holes in the narrative, he exposed the entire ecosystem. Like a man calmly pointing out that the emperor isn't just naked, he's hosting a swimsuit roundtable while sipping matcha and lecturing the peasants on modesty. The absurdity practically peeled itself. Rogan, with his signature blend of locker room candor and armchair philosopher cool, posed the question no one in Sunny's circle dares to utter out loud. How did these media elites become the gatekeepers of culture in the first place? It wasn't a jab. It was a demolition wrapped in a shrug. While Sunny was out on set metaphorically clutching pearls over the hashtag of the day, Joe was busy shaking the foundation of everything her brand stands on. Rogan exposed her for what? She's morphed into a media performer who repackages every social issue into a polished monologue that pretends to speak for the people, while really just echoing her own curated worldview. Each topic isn't explored. It's reflected, filtered, and rebranded to match a narrative where the crowd always claps and the mirror never cracks. Then he did what Rogan does best. He contrasted. His conversations aren't filtered through PR handlers or political consultants. He talks with people who've clawed their way through hard choices, real-life losses, and genuine growth. No teleprompter, no commercial breaks for brand-safe approval. Just stories grounded in truth and, often, the kind of humor only hardship can teach. On one side, a media elite that treats hardship like a theme park ride, curated, packaged, and safe for broadcast. On the other, voices rooted in actual experience. Raw honesty and the absurd realization that most of this performative outrage is laughably out of touch. And like Charlie Kirk before him, Joe never even mentioned her name. That's the mark of a masterclass takedown. When the critique is so precise, so on target, the subject flinches without being directly called out. Where Kirk fired off facts, Rogan wielded satire like a sledgehammer. And by the end of it, Sonny, usually untouchable behind layers of applause and affirmation, looked less like a seasoned host and more like a background extra in a late-night comedy skit about manufactured news.
Some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this, and as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it, but we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this level.
And this is where it all turned, unexpectedly, almost poetically, brutal. Two men, worlds apart in tone, style, and delivery, unintentionally synced like a cosmic event, a kind of intellectual eclipse, unplanned, unscripted, and completely unstoppable. Charlie Kirk brought the slides, the stats, and the sharpened academic scalpel. Joe Rogan brought the smirk, the sarcasm, and the conversational wrecking ball. Separate forces, unaware of each other's moves, but when their commentary collided, they didn't just challenge Sonny Hostin's credibility. They lit the set on fire, flipped the moral high ground upside down, and strolled out like they'd just hosted the show themselves. No Uber, just exit stage left, mic drop still echoing. Within hours, reaction videos flooded the feed faster than celebrity apologies at an awards show. Twitter threads dissected Charlie's segment like it was a graduate seminar in political reality, while Rogan's was heralded as a masterclass in casual takedown comedy. TikTok creators reenacted the entire moment like it was Shakespeare. If Shakespeare wore joggers and delivered punchlines over protein shakes, and Sonny, silence. Because really, what do you say when your carefully curated persona gets shredded? From both the ivory tower and the podcast basement, without either man even saying your name? This was a full-on cultural audit. A forensic teardown of a narrative that had been sanitized, sold, and safe from scrutiny for far too long. The wildest part? These hits weren't personal. They weren't cheap jabs at style, tone, or delivery. No, these critiques cut deeper. They were aimed at the hollow center of a media image built not on substance, but on network-sponsored righteousness. And for once, the spin machine had nothing to say.
I also hate Joy Behar, so I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird, so I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show, if the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there, none of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of...
Meanwhile, Charlie's clip has become required viewing in high school debate clubs across the country, an instant masterclass in how to dismantle an argument with surgical precision. No shouting, no theatrics. Just calm, composed logic delivered with the steady tone of someone who doesn't need volume to make a point hit like a hammer. Then there's Rogan. His podcast segment is racking up so many replays that Spotify execs are probably high-fiving over oat milk lattes in glass-walled boardrooms. It wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural moment. No script, no filter, just that trademark mix of wit and brutal honesty delivered between chuckles and jabs. And Sunny? Well, she's trending, but not in the celebratory way. More like the, please someone change the subject before this gets a sequel kind of trending. The type of attention that makes PR teams cancel lunch and draft emergency statements. It's rare to witness a political mind and a cultural heavyweight accidentally synchronize their aim so perfectly that they don't just question a narrative, they incinerate it. And they did it without venom, without confrontation, and most remarkably, without ever saying her name. That's the brilliance. Kirk and Rogan didn't just call out Sunny, they called out everything her brand represents. A world where curated. Outrage replaces genuine thought, where applause stands in for truth, and where media personas are propped up by nothing more than echo chamber theatrics. They didn't poke holes. They peeled back the glittering surface and exposed the hollow architecture underneath. In one strike, they revealed a class of pundits whose strongest credential is being camera-ready with a hot take. Same target. Different tactics. One came in like a drone, the other like a sledgehammer. And together, they didn't just shake the house, they brought the whole structure down.
Get people thinking, like, if you could stop Hitler by any means necessary, wouldn't you stop Hitler? And so they equate Donald Trump with Hitler and go, here you go, this is our modern Hitler. Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said it's
on television.
Charlie Kirk showed up exactly as expected. Navy blazer, clean cut, and carrying himself like a guy who not only memorized the Constitution, but probably alphabetized the Federalist Papers for fun. His approach? Surgical. No shouting, no gimmicks, just laser-focused arguments with the precision of a policy analyst and the confidence of someone who knows his facts can't be canceled. He didn't throw haymakers. He executed a slow, deliberate demolition of everything Sunny Hostin's media persona was built on. Curated outrage, detached elitism, and TED Talk theatrics masquerading as insight. That's the mark of a masterclass takedown. His critiques weren't aimed at the person. They were aimed at the ideology, like a political sniper dismantling talking points stitched together from recycled view scripts and Instagram activism. No blazer, no teleprompter, just the podcast. King himself, armed with the chaotic charisma of a gym teacher who moonlights as a conspiracy theory referee. Rogan didn't need pie charts or policy points. He brought something just as powerful, the cultural vibe check. While Kirk laid out logic, Rogan kicked the cultural door down with a casual beer in one hand, and that trademark, "Can you believe this nonsense?" smirk in the other. He didn't debate Sunny. He mocked the absurdity of her continued relevance. He didn't need to prove her wrong. He just had to point out how bizarre it is that anyone still thinks she represents the average American experience. Where Kirk brought the data, Rogan delivered the collective eye roll of every Uber driver who's ever yelled at NPR during rush hour.
The View has to be, if you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin's
You think it's deliberate?
dumb. I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought.
So what happens now? No fireworks, no loud declarations. Sunny will keep acting like none of this ever took place. The applause sign will keep flashing, the coffee mugs will keep steaming, and the cameras will keep rolling as if nothing changed. But beneath the surface, everything has shifted. Once Kirk and Rogan yanked that curtain aside, it never quite snapped back into place. The internet witnessed the unraveling, and it wasn't just a moment. It became an archive. Memes, clips, split-screen mashups, all saved and ready to resurface whenever someone dares to say, "But she makes good points." There's no need for another dramatic meltdown on live TV. The reckoning already happened. Quiet, invisible, and absolute. Delivered by two unlikely allies who rarely see eye to eye, but found rare consensus in exposing the tragic comedy of Sunny Hostin's televised morality tours. One day she's crowned the moral compass of daytime television. The next, she's the punchline of a coast-to-coast demolition of delusion. It's a transformation caught on camera, etched into the digital ether, and waiting to be replayed every time reality crashes the carefully curated spotlight.